What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Tate Talk Sports Podcast. Back with another video, and today I am going to be talking about the NBA draft and a little bit of a recap of everything that went down last night. Mainly, I'm just going to be talking about some picks, some surprises, especially about the Thunder. Obviously, I know the most about what they did and the moves they made, and then a little recap of the trades that happened. So, first things first, getting into the draft. It was a really, really good draft to me. One of the better drafts that I've watched because of how unexpected it was. Um, Pretty much 1 through 3 was a lock before it went in. Cade Cunningham 1, Jalen Green 2, Mobley 3, and everyone thought Suggs 4, but instead the Raptors did go ahead and pick Barnes at 4, which pushed Suggs to 5, and that was just the beginning of kind of things not going exactly where people thought, guys going later, guys going earlier. Just a really, really fun draft to watch, different than other years where pretty much 1 through 10 felt locked. So it was actually a pretty good time to watch where guys got picked, as well as it being a very, very deep draft. I'd say probably 5 through 25 were all really, really good players and guys that are going to make a difference on their teams. So it was a lot of fun to watch. Some of the more unexpected things that happened, obviously the Thunder at 5 taking Giddey, a tall point guard or guard forward, point forward at 5, which is a lot earlier than he was expected to go. He was expected to go around 10. Instead, he goes 5 to the Thunder. So that was the first. The second big thing that was unexpected. Obviously, the first being Suggs falling to number 4 and going to the Magic, or falling to number 5 and going to the Magic. Giddey was taken 6. I apologize. That is how it was. Obviously, a big trade happened during this draft. I'll get into that a bit later. And just in general, the order of where guys went was not predicted. Bouknight fell. He was supposed to go around 7 to the Warriors, or maybe a bit later. Ended up falling 11 to the Hornets, which is great for the Hornets. Just in general, a lot of guys not going where people thought. And another interesting note is I think this had to be one of the latest that someone from Duke, North Carolina, or Kentucky has ever gone. No one from Duke, North Carolina, or Kentucky went until 20. And that was Jalen Johnson. And that's got to be the first time in a long time that a player from those schools hasn't gone at least in the lottery. So that was another interesting note. Let's see what else we get. Raptors, obviously, with probably the surprise of the draft, picking Scotty Barnes at 4. Even the cameraman at the draft was expecting them to go Suggs. Instead, they go Barnes. I think it's somewhat being made a bigger deal than it should be. I think Suggs is amazing. I think he definitely deserved to go 4, and who knows, maybe should have gone 4. But I think Barnes is a really good player. And he's going to be really good. And he's got that Giannis build. I don't want to call it that because I think that's ridiculous when people say that, but he is a taller forward who can handle the ball, can't necessarily shoot. So I think he'll be really good. But I do think Suggs is a bit better. At least right now, who knows what they end up being. I also think he's probably a better fit for the Raptors. Kyle Lowry's going to leave. They've got OG Anunoby. They've got Siakam. They've gotten the forwards, and so Suggs would have been a nice pick for them. Instead, they go Barnes. So, we'll see what happens there. That'll be really interesting. And now getting into the Thunder, because obviously that is one of the more interesting points of the draft, and they will be one of the more interesting points of the draft, seemingly for the next 5 to 7 years. Obviously, they went and grabbed Giddey at number 6, who is too early to me. It's too early. It was too early for them to pick him. The other guy they obviously would have gone with was Kuminga, a very raw prospect, ended up falling to the Warriors at 7. If I'm honest, I really liked Giddey. I really, really, really liked Giddey for anyone that was going to grab him at 10. They end up grabbing at 6, so that's a bit of a downside to me that they did reach for him, but I do think he's very, very good. Probably the best playmaker, pure playmaker in this draft. And by that, I just mean passing. He's got the IQ, he's got the vision, as well as having a ton of upside, being 6'9" and playing the guard position. So if he does grow into his potential and does get a bit of a shot, he can be very, very good. And that could end up being a fantastic pick. Obviously, it again, taken too early for me, but He's a great player, so who knows? Maybe it ends up working. But he wasn't the only guy taken too early. There are three other guys that I can name that were taken too early. It was Davion Mitchell, Franz Wagner, and Zaire Williams from Stanford. All three of those guys were taken a bit earlier than I think they should have. And Davion Mitchell, I think he's a good pick. I think he's going to be a great player, and I don't think he was taken too early. But going into the draft, he was starting to fall to around 14 to 15. People would thought ended up going 9, I believe, and and Wagner went early as well. Just guys going earlier, Zaire Williams going earlier. So a lot of people were taking guys early, so it's not necessarily a downside that the Thunder took Giddey is what I'm trying to get out of all of this. And then the second guy that they took in that first round after trading their 16th pick for 2 future firsts with the Rockets, they ended up taking Tre Mann, which I was so happy about because he was probably my second favorite player in this draft behind Corey Kispert. And by favorite player, I don't mean best player. I just mean I really liked watching how they played and what they did when they played. And he was just my second favorite player in the draft. And I was talking to my friend about it before the draft that wherever he went, I was going to like that team because I really love him and how he plays so much. And he does end up going to the Thunder, which is so cool. Obviously shot 40% from 3 in college and was so good in the pick and roll, which is perfect for the Thunder. And he's just so good. So Giddey and Tre Mann are the 2 guys they take in the first round. And it's very obvious what they were going for in doing that. Last year, they were last in offensive efficiency. So they add 2 of the best, if not the 2 best pick and roll players in the entire draft to help them to help Shea and to help that offense just in general work smoother. So if they get a good center who can space the floor and set a good hard screen, they're going to look good this year. Not necessarily, I don't mean by look at, I don't mean contend. I just mean it's going to improve their offensive efficiency a lot. And just the last big note that I thought was interesting was Jared Butler from Baylor, arguably Baylor's next best player next to Davion Mitchell, fell to 40. I was looking before the draft, and he was looking like he was going to be predicted in the first round, if not top 20. He ends up falling to 40, and my guess is because of his heart condition that was kind of a question mark going into the draft. He did end up getting cleared by the NBA and cleared tests, but I think it's just a big question mark, and teams didn't want to take a risk, and the Jazz ended up grabbing him. Obviously, that could end up being a big steal. Yeah. And then the last point that I didn't think of before is Jalen Johnson falling to 20 to the Hawks. At the beginning of last year, and by that I mean beginning of the college season, he was predicted to be probably a top 5 pick. Obviously ended up being injured, didn't even finish his year with Duke. But I saw what he did do at Duke, and he is going to be a fantastic player if he can stay healthy. And that might be the steal of the draft, grabbing him at 20. So that's enough. That's the last point I wanted to make on the draft. Now getting into the trades, just the smaller trade that kind of happened was the Thunder acquired 3 more first-round picks. Obviously, the 2 from the Rockets when they traded the 16th, and they also traded a second-round pick, I believe it was a second, to the Jazz for Derek Favors and a first-rounder, which obviously the Jazz did that to offload Favors' contract, and the Thunder get another first-round pick, which is just more excellent trades by Sam Presti and the Thunder to get even more first-rounders. But now, obviously, probably besides the big draft picks, the biggest news of the night is Russell Westbrook being traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. And this is just a massive trade. If you don't know what the trade is, it was Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Montrezl Harrell, plus pick 22 for Russell Westbrook and 2 future second-round picks. For me, this is a big boom or bust trade. They obviously lose 3 role players in this trade, but then they add Westbrook. And to me, if they all stay healthy, and then grab, 1 or 2 more role guys somewhere, or 2 guys appear to be role players, this could be massive, and they could be the super team of the West and really challenge. But if they don't stay healthy, then it's just they're just in their same situation as last year, down 3 role players. So it's going to be very important that they find a way to work together and stay healthy. But some people talking about that this ruins the spacing of the floor because Westbrook doesn't have the shot. And I just think Westbrook is so good. People will be surprised at how well this group probably ends up working together. Just Westbrook and Anthony Davis alone is a massive duo. Then you throw LeBron James into that. And speaking of LeBron James, this is a massive deal for LeBron because Westbrook is going to take so much pressure off LeBron as far as handling the ball, facilitating, just in general. It's going to take so much pressure off of him. He's going to play those minutes that is probably going to allow LeBron to take more rests. Obviously, Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double again. Kind of this idea of Russell slowing down, I think is not true. Sure, he's not his 2016 MVP self, but he was just injured at points last year. But when he was playing, he was fantastic. He averaged a triple-double again. I can't say that enough. He averaged it again. So he's going to take so much pressure off LeBron as far as facilitating and things like that go. And it's just going to allow LeBron to be what his role needs to be at this point in his career. And I've talked about it in past videos. He's not going to be able to carry the load anymore. He can't carry the load for 48 minutes. But what he can do is be LeBron in the last 10 minutes. He can come out and in that fourth quarter and be a beast and make the big shots and make the big plays on defense, on offense, everything. But Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis can carry that load for the beginning of the game, and LeBron finishes it. It should be really good for them, and I like it a lot. And then two more kind of draft things that I wanted to speak on with the Lakers is they picked up two guys after the draft had been completed that I think are two really good under the radar pickups. And the first one is they signed Mac McClung out of Texas Tech. And he's got a lot of hype, a lot of internet hype. Obviously didn't get drafted, so he's not too special. But I think he's a shot maker. He's a shot maker who hopefully can be that in the NBA. He was a good shooter. He's going to be able to catch and shoot. And he's not going to be, a top tier role player by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got the ability to come in and maybe be that little bit of extra shooting that they need. So that's a good under the radar pickup. And probably the biggest under the radar pickup to me was the Lakers signing Joel Ayayi to a two-way contract after the draft. And if you don't know who Joel Ayayi is, he was on the Gonzaga Bulldogs. And their wing player, usually their small forward. He's got good size. To be honest, not sure why he wasn't drafted because he was really good to me and a two-way beast, 3-and-D player. He's long. He's able to play defense really well. He runs the floor. He just does the intangible things that a role player needs to do, as well as being a really, really good shooter. And again, you may think, well, if he's that good, why wasn't he drafted? And my answer is, I don't know, because I thought he was very good and probably late first, early second round potential. Didn't end up getting taken. So I think it's a really good under the radar signing by them and could come out and be a really good role player. So that's really it for me, guys. That's the whole of the draft, the things that I found interesting. And obviously the big blockbuster Westbrook deal that happened as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments if you have any ideas of other videos you want me to make. Let me know that as well, and I will be sure to read them. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.